Have you ever walked out of a conversation feeling small? Like your voice, your presence, wasn't taken seriously? Like you had to justify, explain, prove you matter? You're not alone. Most of us wear respect like oxygen. We don't notice it until it's gone. But what if the problem isn't them, and it isn't even you? What if it's how you think about respect itself? Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus taught that respect, real respect, blossoms not from applause, but from inner command. And today, we'll unpack that shift. Let's begin with the root. Why we feel disrespected in the first place. Respect feels like oxygen until it's gone. You don't notice respect when it's present. It's invisible, quiet, normal. But the moment it disappears, everything tightens. A comment lands wrong. A boundary is ignored. Someone talks over you, dismisses you, or treats you like an afterthought. And suddenly your mind spins. Did I do something wrong? Should I explain myself? How do I get them to see my value? This is where most pain begins, not with disrespect itself, but with the hunger underneath it. The need to be seen, the need to be validated, the need for approval. From a Stoic perspective, this need is dangerous. Marcus Aurelius warned that the fastest way to lose inner stability is to tie your self-worth to the opinions of others. The moment you do that, you hand strangers the power to disturb your peace. Think about it. When respect feels like oxygen, you start chasing it unconsciously. You soften your words. You tolerate things you shouldn't. You stay quiet when something crosses the line, just to keep the peace. But peace built on shrinking yourself is fragile, and people sense that fragility. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The more you need respect, the easier it is for others to withhold it. Stoicism doesn't teach indifference. It teaches independence. Not emotional numbness, but freedom from begging the world to confirm your worth. When respect becomes something you require from others, you suffer. When it becomes something you generate from within, everything shifts. And this is where Stoics saw respect differently, not as something to chase, but as something that follows. And once you understand that, the entire game changes. You can't control them, only you. This is the line most people hear, but don't actually live by. You try to manage how people see you. You adjust your tone so they won't get upset. You replay conversations, wondering what you should have said to earn more respect. And without realizing it, your peace becomes dependent on their behavior. Stoicism cuts through this illusion with one brutal distinction. Some things are up to you, some things are not. Epictetus made this clear thousands of years ago. Your thoughts, your judgments, your actions, these belong to you. Other people's opinions, reactions, and attitudes do not. The moment you forget this, suffering begins. When someone disrespects you, your mind instinctively tries to reach outside itself. How do I make them stop? How do I change their view of me? How do I regain control of the situation? But that control never existed. Trying to control how others behave is like arguing with the weather. You can shout at the storm, but you'll still get soaked. Stoicism offers a quieter, stronger move. You step back into your own lane. You focus on what is yours, your composure, your clarity, your response. This doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. It means refusing to let someone else's behavior hijack your inner state. Because the instant you anchor your self-respect to something outside your control, you become reactive. And reactive people are easy to disrespect. But when you stand rooted in what you can govern, your conduct, your standards, your boundaries, something unexpected happens. You stop chasing respect. You stop negotiating your worth. You stop bending yourself to manage other people's moods. And once you see respect through this lens, you're no longer dependent on it. Their insult says more about them than you. Disrespect feels personal. That's why it hurts. A sharp comment, a dismissive tone, a subtle jab meant to lower you just a little. Your mind immediately turns inward. What did I do wrong? Why are they treating me this way? Stoicism asks you to turn the lens outward instead. Seneca observed that people who insult others are rarely strong. They are exposed. Disrespect is often a signal of inner imbalance, not outer superiority. Think about it. Secure people don't need to belittle. Confident people don't need to dominate. Grounded people don't search for power through disrespect. When someone speaks down to you, interrupts you, or tries to make you feel small, they're usually defending something fragile inside themselves. Status anxiety, insecurity, fear of being overlooked. Disrespect becomes a shortcut to feeling superior, even if only for a moment. Once you understand this, something important shifts. You stop internalizing the insult. You stop burning energy trying to prove your value. You stop treating every slight as a verdict on your worth. That doesn't mean you excuse bad behavior. It means you interpret it correctly. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that when people act badly, it's often because they don't know how to act otherwise. Not everyone has trained their character. Not everyone has mastered themselves. So when disrespect shows up, you ask a different question. Not what's wrong with me, but what's driving this in them. This reframing is powerful because it breaks the emotional hook. You no longer fight every battle. You no longer chase every apology or explanation. You become selective with your energy. And once you see disrespect as information, not an attack, you stop wasting fuel on conflict that was never about you in the first place. Silence is not weakness, it's armor. You know, most people talk too fast when they feel disrespected. They rush to explain. They rush to defend. They rush to fix the moment. And in that rush, they give away their power. Stoicism teaches the opposite response. Silence, when chosen deliberately, is not surrender. It is control. When someone disrespects you, they're often fishing for a reaction. Emotion, frustration, justification. Anything that confirms they've shaken you. Silence denies them that reward. Seneca wrote that no insult can truly harm you unless you accept it as such. Silence is how you refuse that acceptance. Imagine a cutting remark followed by nothing, no argument, no nervous laughter, no explanation. The moment hangs, and in that space the dynamic shifts. The person who spoke now has to sit with their words. They become visible. You remain composed. This is why silence feels uncomfortable. It removes the usual script. People expect engagement. When you don't provide it, they lose leverage. But this only works when silence is rooted in strength, not fear. There's a difference between retreating and standing still, between shutting down and staying centered. Stoic silence is calm, grounded, intentional. Your posture doesn't collapse. Your presence doesn't shrink. You're not avoiding the moment. You're containing it. This kind of silence communicates something words can't. I don't need to react to maintain my dignity. Used correctly, silence filters situations quickly. Some people adjust, some reveal themselves further. Either way, you gain clarity. And from silence comes discernment, the ability to decide what deserves your voice and what doesn't. Over-explaining teaches others to disrespect you. Most people think explaining themselves is polite, reasonable, necessary. But Stoicism reveals a harder truth. The more you explain, the more you imply that your choices require approval. Every long justification quietly sends the same message. My decision isn't solid yet. Please validate it. And people pick up on that instantly. Epictetus taught that you are responsible for your actions, not for other people's opinions about them. The moment you start defending every choice, you turn your life into an open courtroom. Think about how often this happens. You say no, and then you add a paragraph. You set a boundary, and then soften it with reasons. You make a decision, and then try to make everyone comfortable with it. Over time, this conditions people to push back. They learn that if they question you long enough, you'll bend. Stoicism replaces explanation with clarity. Short answers, clean statements, no emotional padding, not rude, not defensive, just firm. When someone asks why, you don't owe them your inner process. You owe yourself coherence. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to do what reason demands, and let the rest be noise. A decision grounded in reason doesn't need applause. This doesn't mean you never explain. It means you stop explaining out of fear. Fear of being misunderstood, fear of disappointing, fear of conflict. Clarity dissolves those fears. When your words become brief, your presence becomes heavier. People feel the finality. And once you stop justifying yourself, something subtle happens. Your boundaries sharpen. Your energy stays intact. And others learn, without you ever lecturing, that your life isn't up for debate. Respect needs rules, but not rage. Most people wait too long to set boundaries. They tolerate, they endure. They hope the situation will fix itself. Then one day it erupts. Anger spills out, words sharpen, and suddenly the boundary sounds like an attack. Stoicism offers a cleaner path. A boundary is not an accusation, it's a statement of standards. When you blame, people defend. When you rage, people resist. But when you speak from principle, the message lands without friction. Stoic boundaries focus on behavior, not character. Not "you're disrespectful," but "that doesn't work for me," not "you always cross the line." But I'm not continuing this conversation like this. Marcus Aurelius wrote about correcting others without hatred. Because losing your character while trying to protect it is no victory at all. Boundaries delivered calmly do something powerful. They remove drama from the equation. No emotional charge, no moral lecture, no need to convince, just clarity, and clarity forces a choice. The other person either adjusts or they reveal they won't. Either outcome gives you information. Stoicism doesn't demand that everyone like your boundaries. It asks that you respect yourself enough to state them. And here's the quiet strength most people miss. When you set boundaries without blame, you don't escalate the conflict. You end the confusion. People can argue with emotions. They struggle to argue with standards. Your tone stays level. Your words stay brief. Your dignity stays intact. Boundary skills are not about control. They're about alignment. And once you master this, something deeper emerges. A shift not just in how others treat you, but in how you carry yourself everywhere you go. Waiting strengthens you, not hurts you. Disrespect often arrives fast. A sharp remark, a sarcastic tone, a public jab you didn't expect. Your body reacts before your mind catches up. Heat rises, words rush forward, and the urge to strike back feels, well, irresistible. This is where most damage happens. Stoicism places enormous value on one small space, the gap between stimulus and response. That gap is where freedom lives. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that nothing can compel you to act without your consent. Not insults, not pressure, not provocation. The pause protects that consent. When you respond instantly, emotion takes the wheel. When you wait, reason steps in, and reason changes everything. The Stoic pause doesn't mean swallowing disrespect. It means choosing how to address it. A brief delay lets you ask a better question. What response preserves my dignity? Not your pride, not your ego, your dignity. Often you'll realize that a reaction would only feed the situation. Other times you'll see that a short, firm response is enough. Either way, the pause prevents escalation. Think of it like this. Disrespect wants momentum. It wants speed. It wants you to move without thinking. The pause breaks that rhythm. It cools the moment. It slows the room. It signals composure. People sense this instantly. They feel when someone is not being pulled by impulse. They adjust when they realize they can't rush you. Over time, this rewires how others engage with you. They become more careful, more measured, because they know you won't react, you'll respond. And once you master this moment, something else becomes visible. Your words matter less than your presence. Your posture starts to speak before you do. Your calm becomes their chaos. Most people try to win respect with words, arguments, explanations, or perfect comebacks. But you know, Stoicism points to something quieter and far more powerful. Presence. When you remain calm in moments designed to unsettle you, the entire dynamic shifts. Not because you dominate the room, but because you refuse to be moved by it. Non-reactive presence is not passive, it's anchored. Seneca wrote that the strongest person is not the one who overpowers others, but the one who remains master of himself. Stillness is how that mastery becomes visible. Just think about what happens when someone provokes you and you don't take the bait. Your voice stays steady. Your face stays relaxed. Your energy doesn't spike. The other person feels it immediately. They expected resistance or defensiveness or emotional friction. Instead, they meet composure. That mismatch creates discomfort, not for you, but for them. People rely on predictable emotional patterns. When you break the pattern, they lose orientation. The power they thought they had dissolves. This is why calm often feels intimidating. Not because it's aggressive, but because it's ungraspable. A non-reactive presence also protects you internally. Your nervous system doesn't spiral. Your thoughts stay clear. Your identity stays intact. You're no longer trying to manage the moment. You're simply standing in it. Over time, this presence teaches others how to treat you. Not through instruction, through experience. They learn that emotional games don't work, that pressure doesn't bend you, that disrespect finds no foothold. And when your inner state becomes stable, something else follows naturally. From inner stillness flows your outer stance, how you stand, speak, and occupy space. Respect begins before you speak. Long before a sentence forms, something else has already spoken. Your posture, your breathing, the way you hold your space. Stoicism understands this intuitively. The body is not separate from the mind. It's an extension of it. When your inner state is steady, your outer signals follow. People read these signals instantly. If your shoulders collapse, your voice softens, your eyes avoid contact, a message is sent, even if you never intend it. Not of weakness, but of uncertainty. And uncertainty invites pressure. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about standing firm in one's role, like a pillar that doesn't argue with the wind. That firmness shows up physically. When you hold yourself upright, breathe slowly, and speak without rushing, the interaction changes. Others slow down. They listen differently. They choose their words more carefully. This isn't about intimidation. It's about coherence. Your body and your words saying the same thing. Many people try to fix disrespect with better arguments, but arguments come after the moment has already been framed. Presence frames the moment first. A steady stance communicates that you're not seeking permission. A calm breath signals that you're not threatened. A measured voice suggests that you're not trying to prove anything. These cues create a kind of quiet gravity. People feel it without understanding why. And when they feel it, they adjust. This is why Stoics trained daily, not to appear strong, but to be aligned. Mind, body, and action moving as one. Once that alignment becomes habitual, respect stops being something you chase. It becomes something others sense immediately. And yet, even this is not the final layer. Because the deepest form of self-respect doesn't come from posture or presence alone. It comes from choosing where your energy belongs. Respect isn't earned, it's chosen. This is the part most people resist. They believe respect comes from enduring more, explaining longer, proving value again and again to the same people. Stoicism ends that cycle. You don't force respect. You select environments where respect can exist. Every relationship has a cost. Some strengthen you, some slowly drain you. The Stoics were ruthless about this, not out of coldness, but clarity. You cannot live well while constantly negotiating your dignity. When someone repeatedly shows you who they are, believe them, not with bitterness, with adjustment. You stop offering unlimited access. You reduce emotional investment. You disengage from dynamics that require you to shrink. This isn't avoidance, it's alignment. Seneca warned that bad company corrupts good character, not because others control you, but because energy flows where attention goes, where you place your time, your patience, your emotional labor. That's where your life grows. Choosing where your energy goes is the highest form of boundary. No confrontation needed, no final speech, just a quiet shift. You give more to what nourishes you. You give less to what erodes you. And here's the paradox. When you stop chasing respect from the wrong places, respect often appears from the right ones. Because people who value themselves don't argue for their worth. They build lives where disrespect doesn't thrive. This is the Stoic endgame. Not domination, not withdrawal from the world, but calm selection. You stand where your values are honored. You walk away from what diminishes you. And in doing so, you reclaim something deeper than respect, your peace. Respect was never something you had to chase. It was something you had to stop leaking. Stoicism shows this clearly. You don't control people. You don't manage their behavior. You don't argue your worth into existence. You control your standards, your responses, your energy. When you stop reacting, stop over-explaining, stop shrinking, and start choosing where you stand, the dynamic changes. Not overnight, not magically, but permanently. The practice is simple. Choose one principle from this video. Apply it the next time respect is tested. Not to win, not to dominate, but to remain intact. Because the deepest form of respect isn't something others give you. It's what happens when you refuse to abandon yourself, even under pressure. That is Stoic strength.